Staying on the theme for this week, we are going to be doing a documentary about crime and punishment, about criminal justice, and about a system that completely fails people. This one, however, is 100% homegrown, right here in LA County, and I feel a little more somber about it. And this intro is not funny. It's not my usual fare. I want to give you guys a warning at the top that show that we're going to be talking about, this documentary limited series, is about child abuse, physical and sexual. It's got a lot of basically every trigger warning you can imagine in your life. So if that sounds like it's something that's not for you, please skip this review and skip the movie because it's a lot to take in. And I want to treat it with the respect that I feel it's due. And me joking about something is not going to be the way to do that. So this week, we're going to be talking about the trials of Gabriel Fernandez on the Everyman Movie review. So right at the top, I do want to say, as I have been the past few weeks, I hope you and yours are safe and healthy. I hope that you are staying inside. I hope that you found some diversion in these reviews, and I hope that they have given you some guidance about what to check out while you've been stuck at home. Please stay inside. Please stay healthy. Take care of yourself and each other, please. And ever so much more with the subject of this week, which is the trials of Gabriel Fernandez. I try to record these things in bulk. I record several reviews at one time. It helps the editing process, helps me put them together. And I saved this one for last because, one, I wanted to keep my energy high for the other ones, and just thinking about this documentary has an impact mentally, physically, on the soul. And it is that kind of documentary. And again, I cannot stress this enough. If you are triggered by childhood abuse, sexual and physical, by a system absolutely failing children, by any subject that may touch on any of that, please skip this and skip this movie, this documentary. This is not for you. I think it's very important, and I want as many eyes on it as possible, but I also don't want people to go through their own suffering just to see the story of someone else. So The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. It was directed by filmmaker Brian Knappenberger. He has a cast of reenactors, just to kind of give us a sense of who Gabriel Fernandez was, who his family was, and most of the main actors around it. Now, luckily, again, this is a documentary, so he actually got interviews with a lot of the actual people. It involves the police department, involves the sheriff's department, involves child protective services, both low level and upper level, the city, the state, the county. At every level, he got interviews with people, with the family of the child, with the family of everyone involved. It was very thorough. And I felt like when I first jumped in, I said I think it was 6-episode miniseries documentary. This, I feel like, maybe too long. Like, we've commented about Scorsese before that someone's got to go in and be like, Marty, listen, 3.5 hours, too much. Cut it down. And I think I had the same feeling going into this documentary. Like, listen, I get it. It's a complex story you need to tell. There's a lot of voices, there's a lot of parts. But 6-hour-long episodes, is that really necessary? It is 100% necessary. I cannot imagine a situation like this actually happening in real life. And I imagine that if I or anyone wrote a fictional screenplay in which the details of Gabriel Fernandez's life were outlined and the outcome was outlined, that anyone would actually make it. Not just because it's graphic and not just because of the subject matter, because anyone who read it would say, there is no way that everyone in this situation was so incompetent that this was allowed to happen. And yet, a little boy from the Inland Empire, the valley, other side of the world, if you will, that's what I call it, still in LA County, was absolutely failed by everyone who should have protected him. And he was murdered by his mother and her boyfriend after years of abuse that are just unimaginable. The details are horrific. This kid, his mother sent a message to his uncle 2 days after he was born and said, come get this thing. I can't handle it anymore. So his uncle went to pick up Gabriel from his mother. Again, she was describing her newborn baby, that she wanted him to come get this thing that she couldn't handle. And his life just was, it was terrible. There's no other word than that. I mean, listen, he started off a very happy kid. He lived with his uncle, and his uncle was openly gay and in a relationship with a man. And, they were super happy. He was a happy kid while he was there. He got to see a lot of his family members. But we always like to talk about how California is so, liberal. And I joke about Echo Park and the hipsters and how we're all like froofy liberals, froofy libbers. How about that? But, there's still racism here. There's still homophobia here. There's still sexism here. We are no different than anywhere else. As much as the coastal elites want to make everyone think that we are better than them, we are not. There are some people here who maybe are more forward thinking, but listen, I'm from a state with a red governor and a Democratic legislature, and I come from a rural part of that where even the Democrats are New Hampshire Democrats. They're Republicans who are just mad at the Republican Party. No place is free from prejudice. And California, LA County are not separate from that. So someone in his family accused the uncle of inappropriately touching Gabriel, which everyone basically who was close to them says didn't happen. But apparently Gabriel told his uncle and his uncle's husband, I love you, and kissed them both when saying goodbye to go visit some friends. And someone reported that clearly that must mean that they're abusing him, because why would a young boy show that kind of affection for another man? I'm 36 years old. The last time I said goodbye to my father, I hugged him, I kissed him on the cheek, I told him how much I was going to miss him and how much I loved him. So, yeah, different communities treat things differently. I'm trying to avoid that prejudice, I guess, in my own review here, but, Gabriel Fernandez lived in a Hispanic family, in a Hispanic community, and basically the overtones of this were that he was a soft and sensitive kid, and that he may have actually been gay, whether or not, the family blames his uncle and him living there at the beginning for that, or whether he was born gay, like 10% of the population is. They just found him to be soft, and that was unacceptable. So they did everything they could to harden him up. One of those things was to take him away from the uncle and make sure they couldn't have contact. What better way to do that than to accuse him of abusing Gabriel? It actually got the uncle's husband deported, and he had to leave the country. The uncle died sometime shortly after that. And Gabriel went to live with his grandparents, which was a good situation, except for there were a lot of kids there. Basically, the grandparents were taking care of all the kids from all of their grandkids, as if they were their own kids, in the house. The goal, of course, that they talk about all throughout is reunification, that our system is focused on reunifying families. And listen, I've been on both sides of this discussion. I have been the unifying argument. I've been the one out there saying, look, the goal should be getting these families back together. And I stand by that. There are absolutely families who need help. My sister is an amazing mother. Amazing mother. She had my mom's help. She had my nephew's father's family to help as well. And no one knows with their first kid what they're really doing. We all need the support of someone. And for those who don't have any support, CFS, Child and Family Services, Department of Family Services, Department of Child Protective Services, whatever you call it, wherever you are, can offer that. We kind of use them as a negative connotation, but they can offer services to help new people who are new parents who don't have support get the support they need. And, sometimes that might mean, hey, it's a little dangerous for the kid to be with you right now, but while you're getting yourself together, we'll help protect your child, and when you're ready, we'll get the kid back. And that should be the goal in a lot of situations. But there are many children like Gabriel who should never be returned to his family because his mother basically made him the punching bag of the whole family. He had an older brother and older sister. Episode 4 or 5, we learned that mom actually encouraged them to abuse Gabriel as well. He lived or slept in a cupboard in mom and boyfriend's bedroom with a lock on it on the outside. If he made any noise, he was blindfolded and gagged and handcuffed behind his back and left in that little cupboard. They would starve him for long periods, and his sister would sneak him food, or the brother would sneak him food, and then they would tell on each other to try and get points with mom. And then the other would get punished, and that would discourage you from giving the kid food. And Gabriel, once he went back to his mom, basically lived the worst possible life. At one point, he showed up at school with like chunks missing out of his head and hair just shaved off. Everyone who could tried to help him, but the system as a whole let him down. And in fact, this was a case where, for the first time, criminal charges were pressed against social workers who failed in their duty to protect a child. They were 4 people, 2 like low-level workers and their supervisors. While I do think there was a failure, criminal charges were a bit much for them. It turns out that they ended up appealing their conviction and getting it thrown out at a upper-level court. But basically, one of the guys is super open about it, and he's like, I have 10 people working for me, and each of them is carrying a caseload of 70 to 90. So that means I'm responsible for 900 children that are in my care, and I can't possibly know the details of every case. I trust them to do that, and if they're not trained very well, then they're not producing services for the kids that they're looking for. And if they're lying on reports and I don't know, how can I do anything? Just failure at every level. The stories of what Gabriel went through. So he died because the mom's boyfriend lost his temper. Apparently, Gabriel said that he loved his mom and he wanted her to leave the boyfriend because he was abusive, not only to Gabriel but to his mom. And the boyfriend overheard this and then, beat him to death with his bare hands. And then they called 911. They pretended to do CPR and they didn't actually do it. They made up a story about him running around and hitting his head. But, he had cigarette burns on him and broken bones that were never treated. And, bruises around the eyes from previous beatings. Just terrible stuff. Unimaginable. But listen, it's a tough watch. It's tough to get through. But I kept finding myself hitting next episode. Like, let me find some justice in this. Let me get to the end and find out that something good came out of this. Good came for Gabriel. There was justice for Gabriel. Watch it and you can find out what that is. But shortly thereafter, another Gabriel was beaten to death by his stepfather in an apartment a quarter of a mile away from Gabriel's old apartment. So even after all the things that they went through, the system continues to fail people. And, I said in the Amanda Knox episode, our system is the worst, but it's still better than all the others. And Gabriel is an example of the other side of that equation, that we can do better, we just don't. We could have more resources to these departments, and we just don't. We make choices, and when we make choices, people suffer. Individuals suffer. Gabriel suffered a lot. His entire life was just suffering, and he didn't really know anything good. And that's really sad. Should we ask the questions about whether or not this is for you? I personally think that everyone should watch it. You should have your eyes opened about what reality is out there. We think everything is going so well and we're doing so well and we're helping people. We're not. System's a failure. Is it better than a lot of other places? Absolutely. Absolutely. Amanda Knox was another example that it was pretty terrible. Their system is just skewed completely wrong. But just because we do it better doesn't mean we do it the best, and doesn't mean it couldn't be better here. And Gabriel Fernandez is an example of that. Everyone should see this. Everyone should see this. It's tough. It is tough to watch. It's tough to see how a kid could live through all that. How a kid had to live through all that until he didn't anymore. But, again, like I said at the top, if you can't handle documentaries or movies with childhood physical abuse, childhood sexual abuse, and all the accoutrement thereof, just the frustration of a teacher reporting, and then the kid coming in and saying, I can't tell you anything anymore, because when you report, they come to the house, nothing happens, and then I get beat. Oh my God. If I was running things, if in 2024 everyone writes me in as Cheek for benevolent dictator, which you absolutely should, by the way. One of the first things that I would do is to reform the way that we deal with child protective services. and with children as a whole in the country. Foster care, adoption system just needs an absolute complete revamping and an investment. Like we pay more to bomb children in other countries than we pay to take care of the kids in our own country, and that is abhorrent. I've always said that the idea of orphanages are terrible, but that getting these kids who have nowhere else to go in a facility where we can provide good medical care and good education, good food, good housing for them might be the difference between, becoming a productive member of society and not. If I could and make myself the ruler and put myself in power, that'd be the first thing I would do, is to make a safe place for all these kids who have never felt safe before. I would, this is self-serving, but it is what it is. It happened to come up a couple days ago, so I'm going to throw it in here too. I would want to put a statue outside of me, of course, but one where, as lifelike as possible, and I'm looking down, and right at 3 or 4 feet, just have a hand extended downward so that every kid could walk up and just put their head in that open hand and know that even though I might be thousands of miles away, that I'm thinking about all of them and I'm worried about all of them, and I want to help all of them. That's how this movie makes you feel. You want to do that. You want to tear down every bit of society and rebuild it from the ground up. Or maybe that's just me. There's not a lot of movies that get me all in my revolutionary feels, but this miniseries was one where I was just like, there has to be total change. So yeah, everyone should check this out. You may not react like I did. You may not say, hey, let's burn the whole thing down and start over. That's just me. But I think everyone should watch it to see how we are feeling as a society. And the story is told about one kid in one city in one situation, but it's applicable everywhere to everyone. So unless you specifically should avoid it for the aforementioned reasons, everyone should check it out. I'm usually pretty enthusiastic about my recommendations. This is one of those things that is required viewing. It should be required for everyone to see what happened and to face the things that we ignore so often, the things that we just let a story go by. Young man murdered by his mother. Just another story of just another family that's messed up in a messed up world. But it is a symptom of a disease that can be cured if we just do it. So check out The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. It's available on Netflix now. It's, I think, 6 episodes. Worth a watch from everybody who can take it to watch it. So there you have it, yet another episode of the Everyman Movie Review in the books. Right at the top here, I want to say thank you, as I always do, to my patrons. I could not do this without you guys. Thank you so much for all the moral support, the messages that you send. When you see that you're watching the videos early, when I provide them early, you're watching all the crazy content that doesn't make it anywhere else. That's a huge thing for me. I know it makes me feel like I'm not wasting my time. Like there is a purpose behind everything that I'm doing. So thank you for all your support, including the monetary support. And if you want to be one of the chosen few who gets all of that behind the scenes material, all you have to do is go on over to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek. For as little as $1 a month, you get entry level. You get most of the stuff just at that level. And then, of course, you can donate more and you get access to more and more stuff. I'm wrapping up my self-help book. Okay, I'm starting my self-help book. Everybody will be mentioned in the forward of that. It's all kinds of bonuses. You can find more details right there at patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek. And finally, my home on the web is taking shape. RobertNCheek.com has come back to life. It's only a few pages and it's a work in progress, but you'll be able to start getting information there. You can find links to the videos, links to the books, links to everything that I'm doing, music, for whatever that's worth. All of those things are available right there at RobertNCheek.com. And in a few weeks, you'll be able to sign up for a mailing list where I'll stay in touch with you and let you know about the bigger stuff I have coming along. We're kicking around some really big projects, maybe even the #1 movie in the country. We'll see, but you're gonna know first if you go to robertandcheek.com and sign up. And of course, I'm available on social media for free all the time. You get access to what's going on inside here, as terrifying as that may be. Go look for me at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. Maybe that's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, Tumblr, Snapchat, everywhere at Robert N. Cheek. The only thing I don't have at this point is an OnlyFans, and don't push me because I might go and do it. But there's super funny content. There's insights into what's going on behind the scenes of my life. Not as much as you get at the Patreon, but hey, it's for free and it's right there on social media. So check it out at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. And if you can't get enough of me because, why would you? Make sure that you're checking out the Oh the Anthem podcast. Every Tuesday, I sit down with my buddy Corey and we do a new podcast, brand new, every single week for 314 consecutive weeks at this point. We talk about news, we talk about politics, we talk about sports, the stories of the day. Anything is on the table. You never know what we're going to get into. We tell stories from the past. We just hit our 6-year anniversary. So there's a lot of content for you to check out when you're bored, and a new episode every single Tuesday. Go on over to ohtheanthem.com. You can find the entire catalog of back episodes. You can follow us on social media at Oh the Anthem. That's available everywhere. And make sure you join us on Sundays or Mondays when we do our live recording. You can be part of the show. If you're following on social media or at youtube.com/Oh the Anthem, you'll be able to join in right there. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you get new updates, not just of these videos, but of all the stuff that I'm working on. I got a lot going on right now, and you're not going to want to miss a second of it. But of course, Everyman Movie Review is also available in podcast form. You can find that at anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. You'll be able to check out the new episodes right there at the same time as they're available on YouTube, with a few bonuses and extras only for the podcast listeners. I'll be back again in just a few days with yet another episode, so keep a lookout for that. But until then, please stay safe and stay inside. Take care of yourself and each other. Have a great weekend.